But we are joined now by Melissa Baldoff, who you'll now hear instead of at the really early hour at 6:30 for her and others, at a more humane 8:30. Melissa, it's great to see you here.
It is great to be here. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. Now, by and large, we talk about climate issues on Thursdays in our weekly climate check feature. It's a an area of focus for you professionally, but you have a very well-rounded career as a political strategist, as a staff member. You worked in Governor Evers' office for a time as well. So we get to expand the conversation a little bit more. So when we do turn to climate, we're going to talk about green schools in Wisconsin and a new way to recognize them thanks to cuts from the Trump administration. But before we get to that and any other climate issues, I want to come back to your work with Governor Evers
hmm
and the fact that he put out some guidance about what should happen in the workplace if there is some kind of an immigration raid from ICE so that people know what their rights are. And that is getting some angry pushback from Republicans who say that the governor is trying to somehow circumvent, ICE and law and order. And I have to say, from what I know of the memo's comments and from what you know of the governor, he doesn't really strike me as somebody that's giving, shall we say, extra legal advice.
um, yeah, so I let I would just say this that we're in this situation where Republicans are not looking to follow the law. They seem to have decided that uh, innocent until proven guilty doesn't matter, doesn't mean a thing anymore. They are, just completely ignoring the Constitution, uh, left and right, especially when it comes to uh, immigration. We're seeing the just devastating effects of that, examples all the time here. So it makes all the sense in the world that anybody who is, uh, you know, leading a large workforce, as the executive of a large workforce, like Governor Evers is. We have a large and wonderful workforce of state employees, and any responsible employer is going to want to make sure that their employees are safe and feel secure at work so they can do their jobs and have the guidance that they need to exercise their rights. And whether the Trump administration wants to accept it or not, people do have rights. And we have seen that uh, ICE agents, operating under the Trump administration policies, are not always, operating in ways that are, you know, con- conducive to people exercising their rights. And they want people to be confused. They want people to be scared. And it is incredibly important that everybody knows what their rights are and how to exercise those rights safely and responsibly. So it's unfortunately not a surprise that Republicans are mad. I mean, if Republicans in Wisconsin are mad about something with the governor has done all the time, they will never not be mad about something. Um,
And it is fairly
yeah.
standard advice. It's a 5-point memo. It tells state employees to remain calm, immediately notify their supervisor, ask the agents to identify themselves, present documentation of why they are there. They are not to answer questions from the agents, and they are not to give them permission to enter non-public areas and not give them access to paper files or computer systems without first talking to an attorney, because as the memo points out, every Wisconsin state employee has a responsibility to protect confidential data and information. This is all pretty standard stuff in lines of workplace safety, due process, equal rights. And so again, if you're hearing a lot of criticism of this, that Governor Evers is standing with the Venezuelan drug cartels or something like that, now you know a little bit more about the actual legal advice that is in there. It doesn't strike me Melissa, that the governor is working in cahoots with Venezuelan drug gangs. Near as I can tell.
That's the best I can tell as well. It certainly was not, when I worked for the governor, I wasn't aware of any strong alliances with any cartels. But
No.
I was very aware of a commitment to doing what's best for the people of our state, and I think that's what we're seeing here.
That's exactly it. Turning to a climate matter, and again, making our public buildings greener and cleaner. There was a press release from the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction yesterday, and I really want to salute whoever was the writer on this, because there was no need to mince words coming from the Wisconsin DPI, taking a shot at the Trump administration right off the top, saying, following the elimination of the U.S. Department of Education Green Ribbon Schools program, Wisconsin has launched its own initiative through Green and Healthy Schools Wisconsin to spotlight schools that are leading the way in environmental stewardship. And the Environmental Stewardship and Sustainability Award is first going to West De Pere High School and Mahone Middle School in Kenosha, all about reducing environmental impact and cost, support student and staff wellness, and advance environmental literacy through their school communities. Melissa, this is something that we've talked about consistently, is that in this age of Trump cutbacks, we could sit here and wring our hands. There could be a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth. But what we've done instead is say, well, the work has to be done locally at the state level, the local level, that it's not all woe is me. We can all still show leadership in our own various circles.
Absolutely. And I think that we saw, we saw that happen during the first Trump administration, and we're seeing that happen again now. And that's not that there are many bright spots here in this second term, but one of the silver linings is that we had a lot of subnational organizations, whether that's local government, state government, nonprofits, community organizations, really learn a lot in that first term. What can they do at a more local level, and how can they continue to advance climate friendly policies that are smart and going to make a difference and move the needle. And it's not like that work stopped under the Biden administration. It just had a lot of support from the federal government back then, which was wonderful. But now we're seeing that a lot of these organizations are very well equipped to continue making progress and move this work forward. So it's really wonderful to see it happening, and it's especially great to see it happening in our schools. And that it's a way that schools are able to save money and have cleaner, healthier classroom environments for kids to learn in, and educators and staff to work in. And it's something I think that's great too. Also, in the release that you were just talking about, they discussed a little bit more about Environmental Education Week in Wisconsin, which Superintendent Underley had announced. So I think that's really a great component of this too, is that we know that the kids are learning about the environment. They are much more aware of, kind of how everything comes together, and, how they can make their natural spaces cleaner and healthier, how we can move forward into, a clean energy economy. And I think it's really wonderful to know that, this is a priority for our kids too in this state still. They're still learning about science and climate, and doing it in a way that is going to be interesting and exciting to them.
And one of the other things related to this, with energy and delivering electricity to places, is a topic that we'll cover in a future discussion here, because we've run out of time today for it. But there is a bill about building new power transmission lines in Wisconsin, and it it's one of those unusual bills, Melissa, where it doesn't cut neatly between parties. That there are folks who support this particular bill about who gets first dibs at building new transition lines in the state versus whether it should be much more of a a national process. And so I'm just going to speak very generally in the minute we have left here, because we'll get into the specifics later. But it's almost refreshing sometimes when a bill comes up and it's not very cleanly Democratic or Republican, that you can actually talk about the merits of a bill and whether it passes or not. And I would imagine we'll get into that in a discussion real soon.
Yeah, I mean, who knew that legislatures could still do that? It's wonderful to see a robust debate on a piece of legislation. But I hope to see it come together in a way that is, actually protecting our residents and, keeping rates low and not just making this a, giveaway to wealthy big corporations.
And that's the main thing here that we are watching here is, how much of this is just about what companies build power lines versus who's looking out for the consumers, who's looking out for the environment as well as part of this process. Melissa Baldoff, this is going to be fun. Thanks for being along for the first edition. Have a great day. We'll talk again real soon.
Sounds good.